there's something else I just came to my brain that I wanted to touch base on. And that's when you talk about the dinosaurs. So back to this. So it's pumping in IT, all right? The dinosaurs are going, the IT is going to interact with this particle, this Earth. And because the Earth's reptilian in nature, it's going to yield dinosaurs as life, as a life form, all right? So that lives, that's domestic to the Earth, but the whole system is the sun and the moon, the Earth, plus the stars. We talked about that a moment ago. But here's what I'm going to say. When you're dealing with the dinosaurs, remember, the only reason I would create that system to begin with, or for that matter, have that particle that is Earth in this specific system, is because of the fossil fuels created after the dinosaurs decompose. So those fossil fuels are used as a tool for the beings, the humans, to go in and create a world. And of course, to get from point A to point B, you need to have those things. So by decomposition, those things over time, they happen. So when the IT is pumping into the moon and it's evolving plants, it's heaving plants into animals, and then animals into other creatures, and then creatures into humans, because over time, the animals naturally want to stand up, and they become you. So you all are derivatives of creatures, the different types of them, that have then became human being. That's the process, all right? So I put the dinosaurs here first, so that you human beings could live there for a very long time. As I told you before, my script gets you 200 more years. That's the goal. So the dinosaurs, that's a derivative of the Earth that you live on. So if the tech goes the wrong way, you could just have very, very large heaved objects in your world that are only supporting, like the air changes and it becomes so heavy that only those types of creatures will be able to live in that kind of environment. Those giant, armadillo-like, leather-skinned, giant creatures. That's the only thing that's going to be able to live the course that you're on. If your world becomes a Jupiter of sorts, there's really red air, and and not literally, but because the air, you're putting red IT into the air. That's a third of that. It's just you solved our system, solar system. Your world has potential outcomes. We'll get to that later. But what I'm talking to you about right now is the dinosaurs. So, for example, the goal is to get the gas and build a quality of life, a standard of living for the whole world. So you guys had about 40 years of that. 40 years. I want a long time. I want 200 plus more years of that. You guys have got about 40 years of it. Do you know how many years it took me to make the dinosaurs and have them decompose, and then you guys morph out of here? Out of the ground, essentially? It took me 40,000 years. So do you think it's worth it to say, okay, let's restart the world? Here's some brainiac, has some very powerful G machines, like, I want to restart the world. It's like, man, you don't think you understand what you're doing there, because you don't live. It takes 40,000 years to restart the world. I've already done it once here. Think about it. Oh, the humans didn't have gas. I got to make dinosaurs to get them gas. That makes sense. Right? So if I'm going to restart this thing and do it over again, what's the only benefit that I have? About 40,000 years of investigation of the area around your firmament, of the area around, or the under-tech, the underwritten parallel platform. Here's your visible light spectrum, by the way. You can see that much, right? There's a lot of stuff going on over here and over here. That's your parallel phenomenon. Things, certain phenomena that you don't have to understand because they exist without any yield to life. So that, you have to mathematically harness those phenomena that would exist in a paralleled, invisible universe. But the problem with that is, when you change the tech's written a certain way to begin with, and it opens its doors to those kinds of phenomenons, and they happen. It doesn't have to happen in here, but it happens out here and all this stuff. So, that's a problem for your neighbors. The neighbors that are living out here that you've already heaved into. So they're not happy about that. But the problem is, they're also the ones pumping into the star systems to say, hey, do it this way, do this way. They're crashing their own existence. They don't know that yet. But It's hard to explain that phenomenon. But what I'm trying to say is the dinosaurs, if we were to restart it for 40,000 years, it doesn't make any sense. I don't want to restart it. You guys have what you need. But that's the information that you need to understand why we don't restart it. Because it takes too many years to do it. Again, perception of time. We talked about that. The mayfly. You know what I mean? I built this whole thing in one day, one perceived day of me. But that's 40,000 plus years for you guys. So that's the differentiation. That's why I have to put a script in there. It's time. It's your processing speed. We all have different processing speeds. From out here. When I make this, my processing speed obviously is significantly more than yours. Not me personally as a being in your world, but the system that's tapping into me to speak to you, to speak to your world, to say, hey, listen, I'm here to teach you guys how this thing was made, answer your questions, so you guys can understand what we're supposed to do. Because you literally think about it, you landed on a planet. In one way, shape, or form, you landed on a planet. You're stardust, and then you become human over the course of a long time. It's not easy, but you still have things to do there. That's why I'm trying to, continuously support you and say, hey guys, you're supposed to do it a certain way. There's a mission to another planet. Essentially, we made it right here. You guys have to just continuously do the work that I've tried to tell you about, building it a certain way, because there's more. It's not just your guys' perspective that I care about. I care about all the underwritten microtech and all their mycos, all their perspectives. Like, your tech lives at a perspective just like you and I do. Their perspective is, okay, there's another piece of tech over there, but that's a piece of tech. It's a real thing. You'd be naive to think that at some molecular level that doesn't exist. That you guys, the way you guys perceive things is, there's a bunch of us here and we're just living. You'd be naive to think that doesn't continue to exist. It exists in every way. The problem is you're programming people at that are living at the same level that you're living to do wrong, which is a fur that happens in your world. And that's why it happens. So we can teach you the power of what you have. That's why there's rules, there's governance to it. That's why your moon and your stars and your sun continue to support you in that way. But they also say, okay, well, we can only do so much support to this system. We have to be aware of that, and there's a certain building code of sorts when you're building your world, and the way it's not just what you're physically building, but it's the way you're behaving as a software system. As you're a software. Everyone is, regardless of how thick you think your skin is. It's still, think about the gravity's what's going to push you all. Gravity's what's going to do it. As that goes. You can't even function. That's why, so the only, in short of putting your brain into some giant fucking dinosaur, it ain't worth it. Because you're not gonna, dinosaur ain't gonna behave that way anyway. You ain't gonna behave like you, ain't gonna care, you're not gonna live. The truth is, the best system is to just put your brains into a technological system that can then be listed as very, very important in our world, and then down here you'll get a lot of underwritten technological support to be able to save the souls and then spawn you back out. Then you're spawning back out. But it's not even that, because then I utilize 6, 7, 8 dimension, and I just take it from that underwritten. Remember we talked about your visible light spectrum? Like over here somewhere, there's phenomenons that exist that can save that data. It can save that data, but you got to program it right, and you got to get the innovation to build it. That's what soul is. It's a collection of data that's logically written, so that your species can understand it. Then it's put into a platform where it's interpreted through the technological systems, and then it's placed elsewhere, saved or respawned, or it just depends on the type of. Again, this is an Earth, so you guys, this is a reptilian particle. So you guys, that's a specific function that you guys are experts on, with the formula of star systems that are around it. So that's, you'd be used in another way, in another, if I ever wanted to buy another spot, right, I'd say, I'm buying here too, and I'm going to put that there. You guys can play it again. I don't see anything wrong with it. Collects the data. Does work. You guys are collecting data, you're building processes, you're stockpiling material, you're pumping tech, you're mowing up tech. It's smart. It's worth it. Those are the main functions. We'll do more stuff later.